Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first installment of the Osprey Advisors Alumni Network webinar series, Planning for Life's Next Chapter. My name is JC Dara Downing. I'm the Director of Alumni Engagement here at UNF, and I'm so excited that you're tuning in with us. A couple of housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded, so you will be able to view it later and share it out with your friends or your network. We do ask that you ask questions using the Q&A feature down at the bottom of your screen. Type in your question, and we will ask them at the end. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Lee Palmer, the Director of Plan Giving, who's going to talk a little bit about OAAN and introduce our speaker.
Thanks, JC. Hi, my name is Lee Palmer. I'm the Director of Planned Giving here at the University of North Florida. I am thrilled to partner with my fellow alum, Taylor McCullers, who is kicking off the OAAN webinar series. We are excited about this opportunity to highlight professionals working in estate and financial services. This is a new affinity group for us where we are bringing alumni across a variety of disciplines to bring information to our alumni community and beyond. So today's presentation, as you mentioned, or as you can see, mid-year financial check-in with Taylor McCullers. She's class of 2018, and I'm pleased to provide this brief introduction. She is currently a financial advisor with Morgan Stanley at the Lighthouse Wealth Management Group. She's been ranked by Forbes, which has been ranked by Forbes as one of the best in-state wealth management teams of 2026, and on the Barron's 2025 Top 250 Private Wealth Management Teams in the country. Taylor's focus is on guiding clients through major life transitions, divorce, retirement, the passing of a loved one, or receipt of an inheritance. Taylor has built her practice around helping individuals navigate these moments with clarity, confidence, and care. Taylor is a certified financial planner, certified divorce financial analyst, Morgan Stanley financial planning specialist, and workplace advisor for equity compensation specialist. She graduated as the Financial Services Student of the Year from the University of North Florida in 2018 with a double major in finance and financial services and a minor in economics. She holds a Series 7, Series 66, and FL 215 licenses. And to keep us on time, I'm going to go ahead and just pass it over to Taylor, and I'm really looking forward to the webinar.
Great. Thank you, Lee. Hi, everyone. Happy to be here today and be presenting on this topic. The thesis around this is really just a mid-year check-in. So for me personally, as a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley, I try to meet with all of my clients twice a year, once to update their financial plan, and then at the mid-year point in between, just a brief check-in, and then obviously review their investment performance at both meetings. But the thought for today is to go over with you kind of at a high level what I would be talking to my clients about at that mid-year check-in. You can move to the agenda, Ainsley. So for today, we're just going to start with, in general, the financial housekeeping stuff, the questions I ask at that mid-year check-in, things that you should be thinking about on your own at least once a year as well. And then I'm going to discuss a little bit about the value of professional advice. So not just working with a financial advisor, but also working with an attorney and a CPA that you value and trust. And then basically who does what on that financial team. And then since I am a financial advisor, I'll go into a little bit more detail about what it is like to work with a financial advisor if you don't have one yet. Next slide, please. So starting off with the financial housekeeping aspect of this. So in general, I view meeting with your financial advisor and working on your financial health a little bit like going to the gym and meeting with a personal trainer and working on your personal health. You're kind of never done, you're never perfect. So at each meeting, we're trying to help you determine kind of what is the next best thing that you need to be working on. We want to look at what's out there that can hurt you and what is an opportunity that you haven't yet taken advantage of. Your money is a limited resource and your time is a limited resource. We can't do it all in one meeting. So at each get together, we're looking to try to figure out what is the next one or two things that we need to do to keep you moving across this continuum of continually working towards building your net worth and making your financial life better. You can go to the next topic. The very first thing you want to do is kind of just look at your budget. For me specifically, I don't typically build out budgets for clients, but what I need to know from the client is ballpark what your income is and then what your expenses are. If you don't come to the meeting with that information, it's kind of hard for me to give you the advice that is best for you. And what's best for you is different from the guy next door and the guy 2 doors down, because everyone's income is different. You have different income streams. You're paid in different ways. And so your income is going to determine your tax bracket, and often your tax bracket is what drives our investment strategy, the type of investments we pick, and then also what type of account we put the investments in. And then also your expenses are going to determine your savings capacity for the short term, how much you can be adding to your portfolio today. And that's also going to drive the big picture spending down the road, what's possible and what's capable. So most of our clients, I feel like when you're first starting out, you're very focused on your budget. You know exactly where every single dollar goes. And then as you advance in your career and you make more money and you get more comfortable, eventually you kind of lose track of said budget, and you just really know how much money comes in is more than the money that comes out, and you kind of get comfortable, which is totally okay and a luxury that we all want to strive towards. But at a basic level, I need you to at least know your numbers of what your total income is, and then a ballpark of what your monthly spending is, and then I can then help you calculate what the surplus is and then the best use for the surplus. All right, we can go to the next slide. The first thing we want to do when we're looking at our little mid-year check-in is touching base with our clients on how their cash reserves are. So all of my clients should already have a well-established emergency fund. If they're a new client and they don't yet have a well-established emergency fund, then that's the first thing we start with, is making sure you have enough cash reserves. Ideally, we want you to always have somewhere between 3 to 6 months of whatever your monthly living expenses are set aside in cash, not in an investment account, so it's liquid and safe and readily available at all times. And that's why it's really important to know what your monthly spending number is, because what is a healthy emergency fund for one person is different from the next person, and it's based on your spending needs. We want you to have this cash, that way if something unexpected comes up, you're not falling back on credit cards for it or pulling from your investments that are meant to be allocated for long-term wealth accumulation. The worst thing that could really happen to your portfolio is that there's a layoff at work at the same time as a 20% pullback in the stock market, and now we're realizing losses that we shouldn't have had to have realized if we had just planned a little bit better. So that's kind of the one thing that main thing I'm talking about with our clients at our mid-year check-in is, how is your cash? Is your cash flow comfortable? Are we sitting on too much cash? Do we need to add some to your investment portfolio? Or have things come up possibly from the last time we talked that means that you need to make a withdrawal from me to get your cash back to a comfortable level? We want to do this preemptively, not when it's an emergency. If we've checked those boxes, you know your numbers, your budget's looking good, there's more money that's coming in that's coming out, your emergency fund is healthy, then we can really focus on the investment aspect. And that is primarily what I think people think of when they think of a financial advisor, is somebody who is investing their money for them. I love this slide. I try to throw it in every single presentation because it really shows the value of investing and the time value of money, the benefit of starting early, and it's nearly impossible to catch up if you wait too long. So as soon as is reasonably possible, you want to start investing early. There's 3 examples given here. The first one in purple is Alex. Alex starts at age 30 and saves between age 30 and 70 $3,000 a year, which really isn't too much. In total, she saves $123,000 throughout that time period, and over time it grows to $495,000. The second example is Jordan. Jordan starts 10 years later at age 40, saves up until age 70, same as Alex, and then to save the same amount of money, she has to now save $4,000 a year, and even still, it only grows to $339,000. The last example, Taylor, starts at age 50, so another 10 years later, and then now to save the same amount of money, they have to save $6,000 a year versus Alex, our first example, who only had to save $3,000. And even saving the same amount, but over a shorter time period, their money doesn't grow to nearly the same level, only grows to about $240,000. So start investing early as much as is reasonably possible. For the next slide. The other thing that I am talking to my clients about at the mid-year check-in is their goals and the timeline for the goals. So at the beginning of our relationship, we try to help our clients compartmentalize their spending needs into short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals. And then based on the time horizon that we then can craft the investment strategy around that. For your goals that are more long-term, we can take on more risk. For the goals that are more short-term, there should be relatively no risk. And then there's obviously a myriad of things in between. But what we're looking at the mid-year check-in as any of our goals time horizon change. So maybe that means that your son that we've been planning for college for years and years is now a junior in high school. And so that has really moved from a medium-term goal to a short-term goal. And that means we need to change the investment strategy within that college account. It should no longer be in a moderate portfolio. And we need to be slowly making that account more conservative the closer we get to his graduation and then the eventual spending of the money. So just making sure at least once a year that you're looking in on the time horizon of your big spending goals and seeing if any of them have kind of moved from one bucket to the next, and then that might mean that you need to change your investment strategy. Go to the next slide. The other thing that I'm looking at with my clients is not only maybe has the investment strategy changed within an account, but are we using the right account type for that purpose? Sometimes this means that we need to open a new account type, that maybe we are saving in a traditional IRA and we need to start saving for retirement in a Roth IRA. Or maybe this means that we can consolidate some accounts and simplify their financial life as best as possible. But in general, you want to have some accounts that are set aside for just cash management, your regular everyday expenses. Another account type would be your savings accounts. Those are where you're keeping that emergency fund. And then separate from that would be any money above and beyond that that is invested for more longer term purposes. And you can lean on your financial advisor or team of financial professionals to help you figure out the best account type to be making those investments in. How that account is titled is going to determine the taxation of the account. So moving on into starting to build out your team, the value of professional advice. You can go to the next slide, Ainsley. So in general, life is really complicated, and the only thing constant in life is change. I get asked these questions all the time, no matter how much money you have. We all kind of worry about the same things. Am I going to run out of money? Am I going to be able to retire? Am I going to be able to support my family in the way that I would like to? The benefit of working with a financial advisor is that we have seen hundreds of clients come before you with the same issues and have the benefit of hindsight of seeing how people have navigated it either successfully or unsuccessfully. Whereas you really only get one shot at retirement. You want to make sure that you get it right. And so it's nice to be able to rely on a professional to help you navigate not just to retirement, but through retirement and all your other financial goals. You can go to the next slide, Ainsley. So lots of different things that could be top of mind for you, and what's top of mind for you today might be different than what was top of mind for you 6 months ago. So at our mid-year check-in, we're trying to also pull from the client, what's the most important thing to you today? What's keeping you up at night? What is worrying you? Or is it your family needs might have changed? Maybe somebody now needs support, or maybe somebody doesn't need support anymore. Maybe your work has changed. Maybe your retirement your retirement goals have changed. And so we can kind of help you, if you tell us what is the most important thing for you, try to figure out, okay, yes, that needs to be priority one, or no, you're kind of missing the big picture. That doesn't need to be priority one. We need to be working on X right now instead. So your financial team can start to help you figure out what's most important now. Go to the next slide. The other big benefit of working with a financial professional is that money is emotional, and as much as it's possible, we do our best to try to help you take emotions out of your financial decisions. It is very often that when the market is at all-time highs, that is when I'm getting clients calls asking if they should be adding money to the stock market. More often than not, my answer is no, that is the point in which there is the maximum amount of risk. And then the maximum amount of opportunity is when everybody wants to call me and say, Taylor, I'm freaking out, pull my money out of the stock market. Kind of the contrarian perspective, the famous Warren Buffett quote is, you want to be greedy when others are fearful and fearful when others are greedy. When your neighbor next door is telling you about how much money they made in Disney stock this month, that's the time when you need to be selling Disney stock. So we can kind of help you look at past history of the market, look at past research, and try to help you conceptualize as much as possible when you should be feeling like there is opportunity in the stock market and when there is too much risk, and not let your emotions drive your decision. You can go to the next slide. The other, kind of unfortunate thing about my job is that more often than not, when clients call, if it's not related to market, it's also related to something unexpected that has happened in their life. They've had something come up that is a medical emergency, a job change. Maybe there has been a milestone in their family, could be happy, could be sad. But then I'm helping them deal with the financial ramifications of that unexpected. And because I am dealing with that all day long, on my next call, I'm thinking about, with that next client, planning for the unexpected always. We all are busy living our lives and just trying to be happy and enjoy our family, and focusing on what's really matters and what's important to us. The benefit of having a professional advisor is that we are worrying about all of the unexpected for you so that you don't have to. We are constantly thinking about ways to better protect you in your financial situation. You can go to the next slide. So when it comes to building out your team, the next thing we're going to discuss is who does what on that team. Ideally, in a perfect world, you would have an attorney, an accountant, and a financial advisor. And then most importantly, you want all of those people to know who the other person is and make sure that they are really working as a team on your behalf. So this could look like a meeting once a year, or maybe it's every few years, where we all sit down at a table and talk about Mr. or Mrs. Client and what we're individually doing and making sure that they're all working together. Or this could be as simple as a Zoom meeting that we all have, or just an email chain, just so that we know who the other person is and who to contact if I have a new strategy I would like to implement that needs to be run past the attorney or the accountant. You can go to the next slide. So in brief, not an accountant, not an attorney, but I'll just give you high level what those people do and the role they play. So the accountant, other than just filing your tax return every year, is also going to be the person that helps drive the tax strategy. They are going to be the person that when I come up with an idea that I think is meaningful and impactful that will help your tax situation over the next 20 years, they're the person that reins me in and says, okay, Taylor, you haven't really thought about how that's going to impact X, Y, and Z today. And so we need to make sure that we are in constant communication and agree on the strategy so that we're doing the best thing for you. The next thing is the attorney. The attorney is primarily going to be helping you. You go to the next slide, Ainsley. Helping you get your major documents in place. If you are new to this, you don't have an estate attorney, I would say that the very first thing you need to do is just make sure your accounts all have a beneficiary on file, and then work with an attorney to draft the will. I would say that's probably the most important document. And then after that, I like to get a power of attorney on file for all of my clients. That way, if they were to become incapacitated, whomever is going to be responsible for handling their financial affairs has access to their accounts and is able to make sure the lights stay on and your medical bills get paid. And it's really important, again, that you work with an attorney over time to get all of stuff done eventually. You go to the next slide, Ainsley. The financial advisor, which is my role, tries to look at the full financial picture with consultation from the attorney and the tax preparer. You can go to the next slide, Ainsley. What might be equally as important to your professional people, your professional team, is your non-professional team. So you would need to think about, in your life, who is your family, your friends, your close circle of trust that you would rely on if something were to happen to you. The most time-sensitive one of this is if you are a parent to minor children, you need to think through who you would like to be their guardian if something were to happen to both mom and dad. That I think is the primary main reason why you would want to have a will, is so that that is documented somewhere, and then make sure that that is then communicated to that person, and that person knows where your will is, and that they're okay and ready, willing to accept that responsibility should they unfortunately be asked to do so. You also want to think through who is going to be that person if you were to become incapacitated that's going to manage your finances. Who do you want to be making your healthcare decisions? And that healthcare decision might be different from the person who makes the financial decisions, and that's okay. And typically your estate attorney is going to want you to think about a number one and a number two as well, if should that first choice be unwilling or unable, or maybe they predeceased you. So we're trying to help you think through all of the possible what ifs and come up with a plan, have it documented, and communicate it to the people around you so that everybody knows what your wishes are and everybody's prepared for the unexpected. You go to the next page. So now kind of a little bit more in detail about working with a financial advisor, since that is what I know the most intimately. I'm going to speak to that one in a little bit more detail. There's so much that goes into your finances. There's a million things you can do with your money. And so this is not even an all-inclusive list of everything that your financial advisor can help you with. So the primary thing we're going to do when we first start out is talk about your financial goals. Then that is going to help us create a financial plan for you. The financial plan is then going to dictate the investment strategy, because for some clients, they can achieve everything they want to achieve with just a 4% rate of return. Some clients really need to be getting at least an 8% rate of return to happen for them. And so either way, you really need to know where you stand on that spectrum and let that drive your investment decisions. And then we're also going to help you keep track of your financial plan over time as life changes, as your priorities change, as your family situation changes. The plan will need to be updated and adapt and evolve over time. And then we'll help you communicate your decisions to your circle of trust, to your other family members, to your CPA, to your attorney. We like to think of ourselves as the quarterback of the relationship and helping you work with everyone else around you. You can go to the next slide. There's two primary ways that you can work with a financial advisor. You can basically, how do we get paid, which I think is important for you to know and understand and ask about. The two main ways is brokerage or fee-based. The brokerage way is kind of a more old school way of doing business. With this model, you pay a fee or commission per transaction. So think of like the financial advisor that calls you, pitches you an investment idea, and you say yes or no. And if you say yes and move forward, they're going to charge you a commission for that transaction. The advisory fee-based way is instead you would typically pay a percentage of assets under management as an annual fee, and that might hit your investment account monthly or quarterly, but it's going to be a flat fee that is billed to your account, and that is going to be the same rate regardless of if 100 trades are placed or if no trades are placed, regardless of if I update your financial plan for you once a month, if we're meeting once a week, or if you only answer my calls once a year, it's the same rate. The benefit of that, I think, and that's how I work with my clients, is that it really puts us kind of on the same side of the table, where your accounts grow, I make more money, and then I'm not incentivized to place any trades more than it's necessary, and can keep a real long-term perspective whenever we're choosing our investment. You go to the next slide, Ainsley. So in general, when you're working with a financial advisor, you want to make sure that they are taking the time to discover what's important to you, enlisting other professionals when it's necessary. I know when to give tax advice and when to not, when to defer those decisions to the CPA. I feel like I know just enough to be dangerous and always want to defer to the CPA. And then you want to make sure that your financial advisor is actually implementing what you guys have decided upon, and that they're actively tracking your progress towards whatever you decided upon. You can go to the next one. A couple questions to ask when selecting your financial advisor. If you you do want to question the level of experience, level of certifications they have. Make sure they have experience with whatever it is you're looking to do. If you want to be very philanthropic and you want to talk through a complex donor advised fund strategy over several years, you want to make sure that you're not the first donor advised fund that financial advisor has done. You also want to make sure that your financial advisor really takes the time to understand you and your family. It's hard to give financial advice that is perfect for that person without you knowing that person intimately. And you also want to make sure they have the same approach to wealth management that you do, that you guys are coming from the same style, the same investment philosophy, those sort of things. You go to the next page, Ainsley. So in summary, just wrapping it up, I would say communicate to your spouse, your partners, your friends, whomever you is in your circle of trust, what your plans and intentions are for your money, and then communicate to your trusted partners that you've decided to hire, be that a CPA, an attorney, or a financial advisor, what your goals and intentions are, and as they change, because that more often than not means that our strategy for you may need to adapt, and make sure that you're communicating to your children too, what your plan is, what your legacy is, and whom to contact if something were to go wrong. At the bare minimum, I want to make sure that all of my clients' children know who I am and have my phone number and know how to get in contact with me if it's necessary. You go to the next slide, Ainsley. So in summary, if I can, just get organized as best as you can, know your income, know your expenses, and know what roughly your budget should be. Work on building your team and then rely on your team for your financial decisions. Feel free to consider other choices if you want a second opinion. That is always open. Make sure your plans are documented and that once you have that plan documented, the people that are necessary have those documents, and then communicate to everybody as your plans may change or need to adapt over time. And that's it. That's all I have for you guys.